Monster Synthesis Master. 51 Chapter 51, Master of Dealing with the Aftermath. The treasure-hunting mouse knew that its master was in danger, so it kept quiet. Instead, it stretched out its two little claws and pointed in Link's pocket, emphasizing the location of the remaining two. After spending more than a week with treasure-hunting mouse, they had developed a tacit understanding. Link immediately understood what the treasure-hunting mouse meant. Now that he'd locked onto the four, Link had to focus 120% of his attention. For level 15 plus, elite. If he was not careful, he would face a storm of attacks. This woman who could use her own blood to heal her teammates was a rare type of mutated human. Link's first target was the healer. This rare mutated human who could heal his teammates was the first person Lin Ke focused on. Whoosh! 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 The silenced pistol aimed at the woman and fired quickly. The moment Link raised his hand, the man in black pushed the woman away. Bang! Bang! The woman crashed into the wall. Link fired half a magazine of bullets, but only one hit her arm. He had never expected that the man in black would be so cruel to his own teammates. By the time Link had recollected himself and aimed at the woman, the man in black had already rushed in front of him. Although the man in black had recovered some of his strength, his knees had not fully recovered because Link had interrupted him. He was much slower than before. The cold light flashed again. This time, the man in black was aiming at Link's other arm. The foldable arm shield could protect most of his right body, but it was difficult to protect his left side. Link immediately ran out of the alley. Every time the man in black sped up, Link would fire at him, forcing him to change his position and put more distance between them. Seeing that Link was about to run out of the alley, the black-clad lurker shouted, "Don't hide anymore, the person will run away if you hide anymore." Link took advantage of the moment when the man in black stopped and shouted to turn around and start attacking. The Desert Eagle's bullets rained down on the man in black. The man in black didn't expect Link to turn around and attack him just as he was about to escape from the alley. He was hit 3 times in a daze and had to run away in a panic to avoid the bullets. -28. -78. -30. Kaka ha 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 ha. After the 9 bullets were used up, the stalker in black jumped and hid behind a trash can by the wall. Link was suddenly forced to stop. "Are you comfortable?" A charming voice came from behind him. The lazy and sexy voice made people unconsciously form the figure of a gorgeously dressed stunner in their minds. Link nodded subconsciously. Immediately after, Link felt a warm breath on his neck and a soft whisper in his ear. He felt an electric shock on the back of his neck. "Then do you want to turn back and look at Yingluo?" Link's face broke into a maniacal smile as he slowly turned around. The man in black stuck his head out and saw Link slowly turn his head. He smiled and stood up silently. Even though it was afternoon, the throat crusher in his hand glinted coldly in the alley, emitting a chilling aura. The long-haired woman had a smile on her face, and the expression on her face was extremely holy, like a goddess that could not be sullied. His eyes emitted a strange light, as if there was an inexplicable suction force, making people want to stare at it to see what was going on. Anyone who stared at these eyes would not be able to escape the attraction of this evil. "Come, enjoy the dream I've made for you." When Link turned his head around, the long-haired woman's eyes widened. This person actually had his eyes closed. They could not make eye contact, so the illusion drawn by the pupils naturally could not affect the other party. Just as he was in a daze, a flying knife suddenly pierced her body. The woman's mouth suddenly opened wide, and she gasped. The beautiful illusion in her pupils shattered and fell apart. "Why did you close your eyes and whine?" Before he finished his words, Link punched the woman in the stomach again. Bang! Bang! The entire throwing knife, along with the handle, had completely sunk into his body under the force of this punch. There were also the spikes on the wolf fang gloves. Triple damage. Of course Link knew. From the moment he came out of the elevator and saw the dead people of White Crane Hall, to the battle with the lurkers in black, Link had felt strange. According to the strength of the men in black, it was not strange for them to kill these small-time thugs in seconds. However, even Hu Yin, one of the 13 tycoons of White Crane Hall, had died so suddenly, and there were no bullet shells on the ground. In other words, everyone had been killed before they could react. There must be something fishy about this. When Link saw the shocked expressions on everyone's faces before they died, he knew that there would be a mutant who was good at illusions among the mysterious group of 4, so he was careful. The moment he leaned his back against the woman and heard her alluring voice, Link was sure that she was a mutant who could use illusions. He might as well play along and cripple one person first. Even though it was risky, the benefits were equally great. Squeak! The treasure-hunting mouse in Link's pocket suddenly gave a notification. Link opened his eyes. Without even looking, he quickly threw out a dagger. Shua shua shua! The 3 flying daggers flew out one after another, forming a triangle, completely blocking the opponent's attack path. This was the 5th skill that Lin Ke had learned in the city library Hidden Weapon. Hidden Weapon LV1, Throwing Hidden Weapons. Damage is based on the type of hidden weapon and its effect. The hidden weapon technique will add 5 points of damage, consumption, 5 stamina/time. When he was fighting the female mutant killer, he had already tried his luck. Today, when he used it again, it caught people off guard. The man in black did not completely dodge, only lowering his head to avoid the most fatal flying knife. Since he had teammates who could be healed, he had to trade injury for injury to capture Link and complete the mission. Pft! Pft! There were 2 deep sounds of flying daggers piercing into flesh. 2 daggers were inserted into his arms and thighs. These 2 areas were not covered by the bulletproof suit. Soon, 2 damage figures appeared above the man's head, followed by the poisoned notification in Link's system. -67. -88. At that moment, all sorts of notifications flashed across Lin Ke's system. I've succeeded. Link was secretly overjoyed. However, the Desert Eagle and the Glock had run out of bullets, and there was no time to reload. The man in black tried to endure the pain, and his expression suddenly turned serious. His body shook. As if it was filled with lead, its speed became slower and slower. At the same time, another throwing knife appeared in Link's hand. He stared at the man in black. This time, the flying daggers were aimed at his vital parts. There was still one enemy that had yet to appear. Link had no idea what his fighting style was. Before that, Link had to cripple the black-clothed stalker, who was the biggest threat. The man in black gritted his teeth and ran, but he couldn't stand the pressure on his legs. If he were to kill his way to the front at this speed, he would become a live target. 5 meters, 4 meters, 3 meters. Just as Link was about to throw the dagger, the black-clothed man used the afternoon sunlight to shine directly on Link's eyes. Suddenly, Link's vision blurred and the world spun. Link's heart skipped a beat. He didn't expect the other party to borrow his light to blind him. Almost at the same time, Link hooked his little finger, and the shield on his right arm opened up, becoming an iron wall in front of Link. The man in black's legs had reached their limits. The second before he lost all feeling, he jumped and used the speed of his sprint to kick the arm shield. The powerful force sent Link flying like a kite with a broken string. Catch! Link had a bad feeling about this. At this time, the treasure-hunting mouse in his pocket squeaked urgently, warning Link that a terrifying aura had appeared. From the end of the alley, a big man appeared. He was 2 meters tall, and his muscles were strong and well-defined. He was full of explosive power. The big guy's body was slightly slanted, and his left hand was holding his right fist to gather strength, as if he was gathering turtle sect qigong. As soon as Link reached her, she threw a punch. Ah! Link shouted and threw a flying dagger in the air. He used the remaining force from the throwing knife to twist his body around. The next second, Link saw a huge fist flying towards him, accompanied by a strong gust of wind. Boom! The fist, which contained a huge amount of power, smashed into the arm shield. The foldable arm shield, which was made of reinforced alloy, was now dented and bent at an incredible angle, with cracks all over it. As if struck by lightning, Link's right arm lost all feeling. It was as if he had been hit head-on by a speeding train, and he flew back into the alley at an extremely fast speed. You have been hit by charged slam and received 107 penetration damage, arm shield's defense resisted 55 damage. Before Link was sent flying, he suddenly saw the dagger he had thrown to turn his body had landed on the big man's arm. You fell to the ground and rolled continuously, causing scratches. You received 14 points of secondary damage, endurance reduced by 15 points. Link flew back and landed heavily on the ground. The momentum rolled him all the way to the entrance of the underground black market. Fortunately, the corpses on the ground acted as a cushion for Link's speed. Otherwise, he would have suffered even more damage. In addition to the kick from the stalker, Link only had 9 health points left. A trace of blood in the true sense. Come here, I can't move. The rogue on the ground shouted. I can't hold on much longer either, come quickly. The illusionary female mutant clutched her stomach and groaned on the ground. The blood healer who was recovering in the corner looked pale, but he still got up and quickly ran to his 2 teammates, stretching out his arms. The 2 men on the ground were like hyenas that had been hungry for months. When they saw meat, they quickly grabbed their arms and began to suck. The blood healer's eyes suddenly widened, and she opened her mouth to take a deep breath. Her black hair turned white at a speed visible to the naked eye, and her firm skin seemed to have aged decades in an instant, becoming loose and saggy. Her eyes revealed that she was about to die. The 2 of them stopped bleeding, but they still couldn't move. Not only the 2 of them, but even the blood healers felt their bodies stiffen and were unable to move. This misty flying knife is poisonous. The rogue immediately shouted. Quickly knock him out and tie him up, the 3 of us can't move. The big guy frowned slightly, also feeling the effect of the poison on the flying knife. The big man strode towards Link. It seemed that the poison had no effect on him. Link lay in the pile of corpses as he watched the hulking D walk towards him. The punch just now had a numbing effect, and the effect lasted for a full 30 seconds. Now, his entire right arm had no feeling. So, before I get caught, you have to at least let me know who you are, right? Link shouted. To be able to force us to this extent, you are indeed worthy of being on the list of people to be closely observed. You'll know when you are brought back, Ying Luo. The stalker spread his legs, his upper body listlessly hunched over as he glared at Link, who had put him in such a sorry state. We'll know when we get there anyway. Isn't it the same to say it now? Lin Ke looked at the approaching big guy and couldn't help but whistle to attract his attention. Whoosh! Hey, that cocky guy won't tell me, but you can at least tell me, right? Look at me now, I can't move and I can't escape. Why don't you tell me what you're doing? Cough cough cough. As Link spoke, he spat out a mouthful of blood. You, go back, I know. The big man said slowly. He stood about 3 or 4 meters in front of Link and took out a string of rope from his pocket. At this time, the lurker, an illusion mutant behind them, saw a vulture swooping down from the sky. Be careful! As soon as he finished speaking, the big guy and Link were both wrapped up in a sandstorm and disappeared. Chapter 52 1 against 4. The first thing Link did when he entered the sandstorm was to remove his arm shield. Then, he got up and ran out of the sandstorm. The moment the sand eagle swept up, the big guy lost his target. Link's system also showed a out-of-battle notification. The alley wasn't very wide, and a sandstorm almost blocked all vision. Even if Link ran out of the sandstorm, no one in the alley would be able to see him. The first thing Link did when he ran out of the sandstorm was to blend into the corpses in the distance. The big guy's eyes were blinded by the sandstorm, and he covered his eyes with his hands, not moving. His reaction was already a little slow, and now he was even more at a loss. Link lay on the pile of corpses, waiting for Paralyze's effect to end. 15 seconds. It was a long time for some time management experts and could do many things, such as phase rush X5. But for others, it was a short time, passing in the blink of an eye. The sandstorm disappeared, and the sand eagle flew back to the top of the building. Link could already see the big guy's figure, but there were still 2 seconds left before the abnormal status ended. Link aimed the Beso's T1 submachine gun at the big guy and held his breath. The sandstorm gradually dissipated, and the big man put down his hand that was blocking his vision and slowly opened his eyes. The bodies under his feet were all buried under a layer of sand, but he still saw the arm shield on Link's arm. Found it! The big guy's eyes brightened. He bent down to pick Link up. Link remained silent at the side. After enduring the remaining 2 seconds of the abnormal status, the first thing he did was to add points to level up. LV10 level 11 requires 7600 experience points. Do you want to level up? Yes/no. Yes. As Link leveled up, all his stats were instantly filled up. The big guy picked up the broken arm shield, and then his happy face suddenly froze. He did not see Link down there. At this moment, Link suddenly stood up. He held his submachine gun with both hands and aimed at the ground. Da-da-da-da-da. The sound of the suppressed noise was like the rapid typing of a typewriter. The big guy noticed Link, but none of the bullets landed on him. He was a little confused. Was this person sweeping the floor? Then, the big guy looked down at the landing point of the bullet, and a frightened expression appeared on his face. At the place where the arm shield had been, there were 3 dark red bottles on the ground. He also saw the words on the label of the small bottle: high concentration liquid explosive. Just as he was about to run away, one of Link's bullets finally hit the bottle. The powerful kinetic energy contained in the bullet detonated the liquid explosives. The explosion triggered the other 2 bottles of explosives, instantly doubling the power of the explosion, and the flames soared into the sky. Link was sent flying by the shockwave and crashed into the wall. The big guy at the center of the explosion was instantly engulfed by the flames, and his body was torn into pieces by the power of the explosion. The 3 people who couldn't move in the alley were also sent flying by the aftershock, their faces full of fear. They only saw the big guy pick up the arm shield, and then a rapid gunshot came from somewhere. The next second, a deafening explosion and shock wave came. The glass of the surrounding buildings were all shattered. The broken glass was like a silver waterfall, splashing down from the upper floor, making a dangerous but pleasant sound like a silver bottle cracking. The earth was shaking. Countless bodies on the ground had been blown into pieces. Broken limbs, remains, and intestines were everywhere. There was also the strange smell of bodies being roasted by the high temperature of the explosion. After the explosion, everything returned to normal, with only sand and dust filling the air. The shockwave instantly reduced 60 of Link's health points. At the same time, a new system notification appeared. You have detonated a high-concentration liquid explosive and successfully killed a level 15+, elite, big guy. You have received 15,000 experience points. Link got up from the ground and looked down. The suit that he had just changed out of in the morning from the United Pharmaceutical Company was now ragged and in a sorry state. Its back was full of cuts made by glass, looking like grey feathers. Lin Ke immediately decided to level up and recover his health points to the maximum. LV11 level 12 requires 8800 experience points. Do you want to level up? Yes/no. Yes. Link quickly reloaded the Desert Eagle, the Glock, and the submachine gun. The big guy was already dead, but there were still 3 guys. The paralyzing potion concocted from the daffodil rhizome and purple dream silk had a clear effect on level 10+, elite. They were knocked out in 20 seconds. However, for level 15+, elite, the effectiveness would be reduced. Link reloaded his gun as he walked. He then had the treasure-hunting mouse stay close to the wall to investigate while he waited in a corner. A moment later, the treasure-hunting mouse ran back and landed on Link's arm. It stretched out its little claw and gestured a 3, then immediately fell on Link's arm. All right. Link understood now. The 3 of them had been sent flying by the impact, and the numbing potion was still in effect. However, to be safe, Link still called the Sand Eagle over and had him fly into the air with a small metal box. The Sand Eagle flew around and stopped on the roof of a residential building on both sides of the alley. The army ants that received the order were like a silver waterfall, silently climbing down the brick wall of the roof. The 3 people who fell to the ground were in a daze. He struggled to get up with his hands supporting his upper body and looked down at the electric ladder of the black market in the alley. The mountain-like Big D disappeared. Through the dust in the air, they saw the exit of the underground black market that had been blasted open. At that moment, a figure suddenly walked out from the vicinity of the explosion. Link pointed his gun at the 3 of them. The 3 people with the code name AC were terrified. She didn't think that Link would be able to survive the terrifying explosion. His clothes were tattered, but his eyes were bright and he looked energetic. Without a second word, Link fired at the illusion mutants beside him. She was the biggest variable at the moment. If Link was not careful, he would fall for the illusion, so the best way was to kill her first. The hearts of the lurker and the blood-healing mutant sank as they watched Link shoot without restraint. The Desert Eagle and the Glock once again ran out of bullets. Link did not hesitate to take out his submachine gun, aim, and fire. All the bullets landed on the illusionary mutant's body. After a few dozen rounds, he was riddled with holes. Link only stopped shooting when he received a system notification. You have used Desert Eagle, modified, to kill a level 15+, elite, illusion mutant. You have received 15,000 experience points. After killing the illusionary mutant, Link heaved a sigh of relief. The biggest variable had been eliminated. Link didn't immediately reload. Instead, he took out 2 throwing knives from his clothes and threw them at the 2. -87. -75. Only when the system notified him that he was poisoned did Link walk up to it while reloading. By the time Link finished changing the magazine, he was already in front of them. Who sent you here? Link asked as he pointed his gun at the stalker's head. Don't even think about getting a single word out of me, the rogue said fiercely. As you wish, Link said. Haha, don't worry, we will meet again. The rogue's lips curled into a strange smile. Bang 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 bang. The Desert Eagle held its head and fired 9 bullets in a row. The man in black's head exploded with blood at first, but as the number of bullets increased, his skull directly exploded. Blood and white brain matter exploded and splattered onto the ground. It had to be said that the Desert Eagle was really a godly weapon. Its base damage was high, and if it hit the head, there would be a critical damage bonus. 9 bullets were fired, directly taking out more than 1000 HP, instantly killing a level 15+, elite. Pada. Link simply put away the Glock and reloaded the Desert Eagle. Alright, he won't say anything. He's already dead. What about you? Link walked up to the blood healer who had turned into a withered old man, hoping to get some information from her. The blood healer's eyes were filled with fear. She raised her head, her eyes trembling, and only said one sentence. Kill me. Link nodded. Since they were all so stubborn, he wouldn't waste any more time. However, Ying Luo. Before that, he still had to do something else. Your blood seems to have healing properties. This is a good material. As Link spoke, he picked up the lurker's throat crusher and took out a small metal box from his gun strap. Pucci. With just a little bit of force, Link had cut off half of the blood healer's arm. Blood gushed out from the blood vessels. Link fumbled for the box. I'm sorry. I was a little too harsh on you, causing you to suffer so much pain before you die. I apologize. I'm sorry. As soon as Link finished speaking, the Desert Eagle's explosive gunshot rang out again, and the blood healer mutant fell to the ground. With all four of them dead, Link had gained 60,000 experience points. At this moment, his experience pool had increased to 60,685 points. You have obtained Throat Crusher, Blue, and a portion of mutated human blood. It's over, you were right. The man in black standing on the roof had an awkward smile on his face. Before this, I never thought that test subject 777 could really wipe out a team. The other man sighed, to be honest, I didn't expect this either from the report data. Experimental body 777 had only undergone the most basic enhancement, and no abnormalities were found. However, from the recovered misfiery mutated human's body, we found a new type of energy that can only stay there for a short period of time. Test Subject 777 is the key to our research on the mutated human's new energy system. The man in black stared at the ruins formed by the explosion and said, however, Ying Ying caused an explosion at the exit of the underground black market. Is there a problem? The other person was calm and composed. Don't worry, the higher UPS will handle it. What we need to do now is to bring the corpse back and do a data analysis and research. Then what about test subject 777? Are we going to let him go this time? He also bled during the battle just now. Later, we'll get someone to collect a blood sample and bring it back. Then we can take action now. One of them took out his phone and was about to make a call. However, he was stopped by another person. Don't worry, it's not over yet. He pointed to another street. At this moment, another team of more than a dozen people was rushing to the site of the explosion. Chapter 53 The Poison Vow Came True. You're really poor. Link couldn't help but mock. From the three of them, he had obtained a total of 2 items. Link carefully closed the box and put it back on his belt. Then, he picked up the throat crusher and examined it carefully. This blue quality dagger was quite powerful, cutting through iron as if it were mud. When Link picked it up just now, he wanted to cut a wound to let out some blood, but he almost cut off the entire arm of the blood-healing mutant. Throat crushing. Quality, Blue. Parameters, Attack Power 55-65, Length 25 cm, Weight 0.5 kg. Durability, 490/500. Equipment requirements, LV10 and above, Strength 10 points, Agility 15 points. Attribute bonus, Agility +5, Strength +5. Special effect, Cutthroat Throat Attack will deal 100% additional damage on top of critical hit. Sharp Blade can add chi to the blade of the throat crushing blade, causing an additional 30 points of damage and carrying the bleeding effect. 1 stamina/second. After looking at the stats of Throat Crusher, Link added 5 points to his agility without hesitation. He had met the weapon's requirements. It was a blue quality weapon, the first one he had ever gotten his hands on. In his previous life, he had obtained his first blue grade weapon when he was level 30. It was still the light blue type, barely classified as superior equipment. However, the powerful attributes and special effects of the throat cutter in his hand were far beyond his imagination. Compared to the pair of gloves he had at level 30 in his previous life, the difference was like heaven and earth. This weapon can be used even in the later stages of the Son of Saints Descent version. It's not too much, hee. Link wasn't bragging. He'd calculated everything. According to the parameters, the maximum attack was 65 points. After activating the Edge special effect, the damage could reach 95 points. The throat was one of the human body's weak points. After being hit, it could deal twice the damage. 95x2 equals 190, dealing 190 points of damage. This damage was added with the 100% damage from cut throat, and a successful cut to the throat could cause 380 damage. It was no wonder that the White Crane Hall's men were all killed in seconds. The damage was off the charts, exceeding the maximum health points. Link happily put away his throat crusher and walked back to the explosion site. Looking at the blown-up exit of the black market, his brows furrowed. This was a little troublesome. The entrance of the underground black market had a big hole, and the elevator had been blown up. Link finally understood why the female mutant killer did not use this when she tried to kill him. It was too powerful. Fortunately, Link had only placed 3 bottles under his arm shield when he was in the sandstorm. If all 5 bottles were put in, it would probably blow up the entire underground black market's exit. Just as Link was at his wit's end, the treasure-hunting mouse in his pocket suddenly stuck its head out and sniffed. Squeak! The treasure-hunting mouse hurriedly reminded its master and stretched out its 2 little claws to make a stretch circle. Another group of people is coming. Link frowned. What day was it? The mysterious enemy had just been killed, and another wave was coming? At that moment, the treasure-hunting mouse slipped out of his pocket and ran into Link's hand. It strode in a zigzag manner again, then nodded and bowed. This set of movements was familiar to Link. You're saying that the person who came is the second brother, Shaw? The treasure-hunting mouse nodded. It wouldn't be wrong to smell such a foul smell. Xiao-er. Link's furrowed brows immediately relaxed. Since it was Shaw and the other nobodies, he didn't have to worry. The sound of dense footsteps came from the entrance of the alley. With a gun in hand, Xiao-er gathered a dozen of his followers and rushed over from the front door. He had been guarding the back door when he met up with Hu Yin and his men. However, Link had not come out for a long time, so Hu Yin had arranged for Xiao-er to enter the black market to see if Link was really hiding there. The rules of the underground black market were not something a gang could break. The black market's back door only allowed people to leave, and the front door only allowed people to enter. So, Shaw and his men went around to the front door and entered the black market. They searched for a long time but still could not find Link. During this period, he called Hu Yin, but he didn't pick up. Just as Xiao-er was at his wit's end, a violent explosion suddenly came from the back door of the underground black market. The elevator crashed down from the ground, and a large hole was blasted in the ground. The underground black market had opened a temporary passageway, and Xiao-er had run over with his men. As soon as he entered the alley, he saw 3 dead bodies in black and traces of the explosion in the alley. Xiao-er was dumbfounded. He just wanted Link dead, but he didn't want to cause such a big commotion. Now, even the back door of the underground black market had exploded. He was dead, dead. Xiao-er quickly led his men forward, but when he saw the broken limbs of the White Crane Hall's fighters, he immediately slowed down and furrowed his brows. Boss, what's going on here? Everyone was killed by the explosion. The hatchet men who were following behind were trembling. Although he was part of a gang and had seen many scenes of death, he was not afraid of death. However, it was also the first time that they had seen someone being blown to pieces with their intestines and brain matter flowing out. How the hell would I know? At that moment, Xiao-er's brain was a little muddled. A crazy thought kept growing in her mind. Did Link and Hu Yin die together? If Hu Yin died, he would be completely finished. Old Crane had asked Hu Yin to help him settle the matter with the Jack gang, but in the end, he had killed Hu Yin of the 13 gangsters in battle while he was still alive. This didn't make sense. After losing 2 of his beloved sons, what do you think Old Crane will do in his rage? Naturally, it was to kill him to vent his anger. The further Xiao-er walked into the alley, the more corpses he saw of the White Crane Hall's hatchet men. His right eyelid twitched more and more heavily, and he felt uneasy. Just then, a burst of light laughter came from inside. Hee, I'm not dead yet, and you're already so eager to call boss. Xiao-er suddenly shivered, and his heart felt as if it was being squeezed by an invisible hand. He recognized it as Link's voice. He didn't die. Link, what did you do to Brother Yin? He's one of the 13 tycoons of White Crane Hall. If you kill him, White Crane Hall will never let you off. Hee, sure. If you want him to live, you'll have to come here alone and exchange your life for his. Hearing this, Xiao Er's pupils suddenly enlarged. Link's voice, coupled with the broken corpses on the ground, convinced him. Let Brother Yin speak first. I have to make sure that his life is safe. After saying that, Xiao Er raised his hand and gestured for his men to quietly lean against the wall. Xiao Er, it seems like you're still afraid of death. Hu Yin, I really feel that it's not worth it for you to collude with such a person for a little profit. It's just tens of thousands of dollars. If Sha can give it, why can't I? Even if I ask him to come forward and exchange for your life, he won't agree. This time, you'll have to see clearly. Xiao Er watched as his own people gradually touched him, and beads of sweat formed on his forehead. He couldn't be sure if Hu Yin was really dead or faking it, but Link's words really wanted to kill him. Brother Yin, I've brought my men in. If Link dares to lay a hand on you, I'll tear him to pieces to comfort your soul in heaven. At this moment, the first thug had already reached the wall and was the first to rush out. He had just taken a step when a cold light flashed before his eyes, and a bloody slit appeared on his throat. Then, the thug suddenly felt that he couldn't breathe. He threw away the gun in his hand and fell to the ground in pain with his hands covering his neck. His arteries, windpipe, and esophagus were all cut off by the sharp blades with chi energy. Blood was like a boiling pressure cooker, spurting out from the gaps of his neck. Even if his hands were clenched tightly around his neck, it would still spray out from the gaps of his fingers. The thug's legs were on the ground, and he struggled for a moment. Soon, his hands loosened, and he lost all feeling. Just as everyone was staring at the corpse in shock, the corpse suddenly moved. The wound on his neck suddenly turned outwards, and blood gushed out. His arteries, esophagus, and trachea were like blooming flowers, tender and beautiful. The scene was exactly the same as the group of people who died in White Crane Hall. What the hell is this Bayan? Everyone was dumbfounded. The thug who was still alive and kicking a moment ago had just rushed out and died in an instant. All the hatchet men leaning against the wall trembled, especially those behind the leader. They didn't have the courage to go out. Xiao Er, do you still remember the bloody wine and the oath-breaking last night? Sha waved his hand, signaling for the thugs to retreat. They all stood in front of him with their guns in formation. They were defending instead of attacking as they waited for Link to come out. In just one night, Link's pressure on him was even more terrifying. Link, don't try to scare me with that oath. I, Xiao Er, have done many bad things in my life, but I have never seen retribution. Let me tell you, not only have you offended White Crane Hall, you've also blown up the back door of the underground black market, and the black market is not done with you. There's no place for you in the entire Shandu. No, there is no place for you in the entire Freedom Federation. No matter where you run to, there will be assassins and bounty hunters coming to find trouble with you. You're finished. Ha ha ha. Xiao Er's laughter stopped abruptly. The expression on his face suddenly froze, and his brows furrowed. His heart and stomach suddenly felt a sharp pain, followed by a sharp pain. The surrounding thugs saw this and all looked at Xiao Er in shock, their expressions as if they had seen a ghost. Could it be that the poison vow is really in effect? The other thugs' minds went blank. They didn't think that there would really be a poison vow. But now, beads of sweat rolled down from Sha's forehead. He was in so much pain that he curled up like an arched shrimp, unable to say a word. If this wasn't a poison vow, what was it? This was not all. Then, each and every one of the assassins felt a sharp pain in their hearts and abdomens. Before they could even see Link, they all fell to the ground and rolled around in pain. Link slowly walked out of the alley. Looking at the traitors on the ground, he sighed. Do you really think that the poison vow is just a casual statement? If you follow me and do a good job, you'll be able to live a good life. But you chose the worst path, so don't blame me. You have used the Silver Army Ant to kill a level 5 brawler. You have received 150 experience points. You have used the Silver Army Ant to kill a level 5 brawler. You have received 150 experience points. A series of kill notifications popped up from the system. Link's expression was calm. He crouched down to loot the corpse. At least get back all the money that I've been rewarded with, right? 54 Chapter 54, Setting Off the Chaos. Link quickly finished searching the body. Sure enough, the thugs didn't have the habit of saving money. They all carried the cash they were given last night with them. Link then found a clean coat on the ground and put away all the thugs' weapons. The thugs' intestines were torn and their stomachs were bleeding, and their stomachs were filled with pieces of flesh. Link glanced at it. The mysterious group of 4, the people of White Crane Hall, and the traitors of the Jack Gang, all died here. The door of the underground black market had been blown open, and it would probably be traced back to him soon. With the current situation, returning to the Jack Gang would only cause more trouble. The man in black was very powerful, and they had not yet figured out his identity. Hu Yin, one of the 13 tycoons of the White Crane Hall, had led his men to intercept him, but he had not expected that all of them would die at the back door of the underground black market. Although it was the doing of the man in black, he would definitely be blamed for this. Link looked down in the ruins and found the deformed arm shield. With the arm shield in hand, he jumped down from the hole that had been blown open and entered the underground black market. There weren't many people in the black market in the afternoon, but an explosion hadn't happened for more than a decade. Many of the chit-chatting merchants closed their shops and rushed to the scene of the incident. Link was the only one walking deeper into the black market. He was the only rebel. Just as Link reached Dave's watch shop, he found Dave packing up in a hurry and closing his food truck. However, he was stopped by Link. The quality of your arm shield isn't good. It was beaten up like this with one punch. Link took out his arm shield, and Dave was shocked when he saw it. His 2 mechanical glasses with a zooming function kept on changing focus. This is clearly an explosion. Dave stopped mid-sentence. He did see the compression and deformation caused by the heavy punch under the explosion. After a while, Dave raised his head in horror. Based on my naked eye, this fist's strength is at least 2 tons. How did you survive that? Link smiled and patted Dave's shoulder. I'm blessed with good fortune. By the way, can you fix this arm shield? It's a 1-month guarantee. Dave's mouth twitched. He finally understood that he had been tricked by Link. This arm shield is also compressed by the high explosion, so the explosion outside was caused by you? Link didn't answer directly. Instead, he smiled and said, 2 hours should be enough for you to repair this thing, right? Dave's expression was solemn. Damage over 70%. I'm afraid it'll take 3 days to recover. You don't really think you can succeed in 1 try, do you? No way, no way, no way. If you fail, won't you still have to rely on me to provide you with the beginner chip? Dave met Link's surprised smile and gritted his teeth in anger. Even if he collected all 5 chips, the success rate of his plan was only 75%. He might really need a backup chip. Good. Just 2 hours. Dave was so angry that he snatched the arm shield away and said fiercely, I advise you to go to the Platinum Hotel and explain the cause of the explosion. Just as Link was about to leave, he heard Fu's voice. Platinum Hotel. After Thomas received the call, he hurriedly left the front desk and took the special elevator to the 9th floor. The entire 9th floor was a huge office. Behind the mahogany office desk was a boss's chair. Sir, the back door of the underground black market has been blown open. The boss's chair instantly changed direction, and a big-bellied man held a cigar in one hand and fiddled with small literary objects in the other. Oh, I remember that the last explosion happened 14 years ago, right? What's the matter? Is there someone who wants to challenge the rules of the underground black market? Thomas's expression remained the same. He waited for the person in the boss's seat to finish before he said, "Sir, the situation this time is a little different. It's the people from the joint pharmaceutical company. They had a fight with Link outside the back door of the alley. In the end, Link triggered a high-concentration liquid explosive, causing the back door elevator to fall and blow up a hole." "Link, is he the young man that John recommended?" "Yes, sir." The man in the boss's chair took a big puff of his cigar, then irritatedly pressed the head of the burning cigar into the ashtray, extinguishing all the sparks. It was as if he was pressing down on a person's head and continuously plunging it into the water, trying to drown the person in one go. "Sir, what should we do? Should we issue a warrant for Link's arrest?" The fat boss raised his hand and rejected Thomas's suggestion. "No rush, let's wait for the main character first." As soon as he finished speaking, the old turntable phone in front of him made a crisp ding-ling sound. The fat boss stared at the phone and only picked it up after it rang 3 times. "Hello, this is Platinum Hotel. I am Zero. I'm very sorry that the back door of the underground black market was blown up. Do you have anything else to say other than regret? You have to know that there hasn't been an explosion in 14 years, so the rules can't be broken. It's the face of one of the 3 emperors of Shudu, after all." "I understand. How about this? As compensation, I can let the Shining help you once for free." The fat boss fell into deep thought and said after a moment, "Deal," he said. "Just a friendly reminder, it's best if you don't touch Link's child, Ying Luo. That's a pity. We found some treasures on him. He would not give up on his research before he fully mastered it. From what you're saying, you're planning to intervene." "No, it's just a friendly reminder. He's the one the painter has taken a fancy to." "An artist? Hehe, Ying Luo is already an old man who has retired." "Old people," the fat boss suddenly laughed. "Haha, have you forgotten how your mutated humans suffered? Do you want to experience it again?" There was a moment of silence on the other side of the phone. "Times have changed, Derek. You want to protect Link." No, no, the fat boss replied, "Link has nothing to do with the Platinum Hotel. I just don't want you to provoke John. After all, he has been out of the martial arts world for 5 years. It's not easy for him to come to Shandu this time, so I hope he can always keep a good mood. After all, I believe that no one in the entire Freedom Federation would want to experience what happened 5 years ago again." The other end of the phone fell silent again. "All right, I agree. That's why I've decided to change my method. An anonymous reward. The target, Link. Bounty, 200,000. My request is to capture him alive. The funds will be transferred to your account in 1 minute. Please check and receive. I don't think you want to break the Platinum Hotel's rules, Derek." The fat boss's face was gloomy and cold, as if it could freeze. His eyes were full of killing intent. "I naturally won't. I still have a lot of trust in the Platinum Hotel. After all, you guys didn't break any rules 5 years ago." D. After hanging up the phone, the fat boss's aura was terrifying to the extreme. "Thomas, did you hear that?" The Platinum Hotel's manager, Thomas, nodded slightly. "But sir, are we really going to put up an anonymous reward for Link?" After John found out about this, he was stunned. "He'll understand. The Platinum Hotel's rules can't be broken. Since there's a reward, it's in line with the procedure. We have no reason to refuse. Besides, Ran Zero is indeed afraid of things getting out of hand. Even the forces behind the joint pharmaceutical couldn't guarantee that they could withstand John's anger. Although it was an anonymous reward, do you think John wouldn't find out who did it?" John used his recommendation and released the news of the omniscient gold coin to train him. A $200,000 bounty. If this kid can't make it through, it only means that John is indeed old and has misjudged him. Thomas's expression was grave. A $200,000 bounty could already attract some veteran assassins or bounty hunters. Link's potential was limitless, but he was afraid of accidents when faced with waves of assassins. I hope Link can pull through. I don't want to see John's anger again, even if it's not directed at me. Thomas left the 9th floor, and his subordinates quickly sent him a message. By the time the repair team arrived at the back door, it had been repaired as if the explosion had never happened. All right, I got it. Thomas adjusted his glasses. He had a premonition. The wind was about to blow. The news of the explosion at the back door of the underground black market quickly spread throughout the entire Sand City. Everyone was waiting for the reaction of the underground black market. Following the sound of the explosion, all the forces in the entire Sand City received the news from their respective informants. Calls from various forces were coming in. White Crane Hall. Old Crane picked up the call as well, and sensed something fishy. After hanging up, Old Crane called his adopted son, Hu Yin, at once. Do. Has Hu Yin not returned yet? Reporting to father, Brother Yin went to Platinum Hotel today to discuss in detail with Xiao Er about recapturing the Jack gang. He'll probably take action tonight. Take some people to investigate. It's strange that Hu Yin doesn't answer his phone. I hope I'm overthinking it. Old Crane massaged his temples. However, before the adopted son in front of him could go out, someone rushed in from outside. Father, Hu Yin and Xiao Er are both dead. His body was found at the back door of the underground black market. Old Crane's body swayed slightly in a daze. The two adopted sons beside him quickly went forward to support him. There's news that Brother Yin and Sha were killed when they tried to stop Link at the back door. Hurry up and bring their corpses back. The black market's back door exploded, and Yin Er, Xiao Er, and the 30-odd men from White Crane Hall who were leading the team were all killed. The three incidents were immediately linked together. Father, what should we do now? Should we issue a kill order? Any movements from the underground black market? Ying Luo hasn't yet. Then we'll bide our time. There's something fishy about this. At the fork of the canal. The Jack gang. Number 3 was busy renovating Link's bedroom in the base camp. Suddenly, a thug rushed in and whispered something into Third's ear. Third brother felt as if he had been struck by lightning. He sat down on the bench, his face pale. It's over, it's really over this time. Chapter 55 Platinum Hotel's Wanted Order. Third brother's face was filled with despair. They had a new boss who was swift and decisive, but in the end, this happened in less than a day. With Sha's death-seeking personality, it would not be strange for him to be killed by Link. More importantly, Hu Yin was one of White Crane Hall's 13 tycoons, but he had been killed by Link. This was beyond the scope of a normal gang fight for power. Old Crane would never let his adopted son be killed. The 13 gangsters would rise or fall together. The other tycoons wouldn't just let Hu Yin die either. They would definitely launch a storm of attacks on Link. The most important thing was the underground black market. He wouldn't even dare to destroy a brick of the underground black market, let alone the back door. Now, boss had even blown up the underground black market. That was the underground black market. It was the behemoth of the Sand Capital, an important business of the three emperors. In Third Brother's heart, he had already sentenced Link to death. No one could survive being wanted by the underground black market, no one. Third Brother, what should we do now? The thug was anxious. In the past, he had only offended the neighboring Pacino family, the Group of Seven, or the Rumen clan. This time, he had directly offended the White Crane Hall and the underground black market. For the members of the Jack gang, this was the sky above their heads, an insurmountable mountain. The third brother, Mr. Kong, stood up with difficulty by supporting himself with the stool. He forced himself to calm down and said, "Don't panic. From now on, get our brothers to come back. We'll hide in Jack's gang and not go out. First of all, the White Crane Hall will not attack us. After all, we still need to smuggle wild animals in the future. Secondly, even if the underground black market were to make a move, it would be an arrest warrant, and they would not bring our Jack gang along. So, as long as we don't cause any trouble, we'll be safe. However, it's inevitable that the other sects around will add insult to injury after hearing the news. We don't have much combat power now, so let's ensure our safety first. We'll talk about it after this matter has calmed down. Everyone, take the safe and the valuables," he ordered. "Retreat to the basement. Quick!" Everyone quickly got into action. The underground black market. After Link handed the arm shield to Dave, he went straight to Platinum Hotel. Link still had to explain the matter of blowing up the back door. Even though he was wanted, Link didn't feel too pressured. In the past, there were many players who wanted to challenge the Platinum Hotel's foundation. He made a move in the underground black market, threw hundreds of caddies of cow dung into the Platinum Hotel, and blew up the entrance and exit elevators. In general, the underground black market would offer a bounty of 30,000 to 50,000 yuan. To normal players, 30,000 to 50,000 was already a huge sum. Leveling all the way to level 10 and having 10,000 yuan in hand was already an outstanding example of being thrifty. When Link first entered the Sand Capital at level 20, he had $5,000 on him. In the end, he had to rob and kill a few small gangs before he could become rich. An assassin with a bounty of 30,000 to 50,000 gold coins was basically a level 10 to 15 elite. For Link, it was still manageable. "I'll go to Platinum Hotel to explain, and at the same time, I'll ask for some information. In any case, according to the rules, even if it was someone from the Platinum Hotel, they could only make a move after they were out. Fu, I'm going to Platinum Hotel. Sell all these pistols, and then wait for me at Dave's watch shop. Don't worry, boss. I'll definitely complete the mission." Fu smiled naively, still not understanding what had happened. When Link returned to the Platinum Hotel. When the waiter saw Link, his eyes were filled with shock, and his mouth was slightly agape. Seeing the look on the man's face, Lin Ke knew that the Platinum Hotel knew about the black market's back door. "Mr. Lin, welcome." Link didn't see Thomas at the front desk. He stopped and asked, "You guys already know?" The waiter looked embarrassed because he did not manage his facial expressions well and had affected the members. "I'm sorry, Mr. Lin, I'm sorry. It's fine. I just wanted to ask if the news has spread all over the place, right?" The waiter was caught up in Link's rhythm and couldn't help but nod. "Do you think I'm responsible for this?" The two attendants looked troubled, not knowing what to say. The Platinum Hotel's rule was that they could not make things difficult for their members. However, if he said that he would not, he would be slapping himself in the face when Platinum Hotel's wanted order came out later. "All right, Mr. Lin, don't make things difficult for the waiter. You're here for me, right?" Thomas appeared behind Link at the right time, his tone surprisingly relaxed. "All right, the main character is here. I'll stop joking with you." Link waved goodbye. The two attendants both heaved a sigh of relief and exchanged a look of relief. The manager's appearance was just perfect. Thomas brought Link to the rest area. The assassins and bounty hunters who were resting there all left when they saw the two of them, leaving the two alone. "Since you already know, what is the decision of the underground black market?" Link didn't beat around the bush and asked directly. On the way back from the 9th floor, Thomas had also thought it through. Since Link could kill 4 investigators of the joint pharmaceutical team by himself, he didn't have to worry about his strength. Although the $200,000 bounty was difficult, it was not impossible. He trusted John's judgment, so he also believed that Link could deal with the trouble. We've already investigated the reason. You attacked because you wanted to protect yourself. In addition, someone has already paid for this matter, so there won't be any arrest warrant for you. Link furrowed his brows. He'd already come as fast as he could, but it was done? He had not expected that he would not be punished for blowing up the back door of the underground black market. Is it John? Thomas shook his head and said with a smile, but other than that, I have one more thing to congratulate you on. Thomas took out a blank contract from his pocket. Party A was empty, and Party B filled in the Platinum Hotel's name. At a glance, there was a 200,000 reward for Link's capture. Congratulations, your reward at the Bounty Club has risen to 230,000. F***ck. This person must have misunderstood the good news. An anonymous contract. Thomas nodded. Then let them come. It's best if they come with some hard stuff. Link stood up. He had already guessed it. To compensate the underground black market and sign an anonymous contract, they were definitely on the same side. It was definitely the organization behind the Men in Black. To be able to make the underground black market agree to reconcile, it was definitely not a small force. Link then remembered the words the black-robed stalker had said before his death, "We will meet again." Now that he thought about it, it was strange. The fact that the four of them didn't manage to get a single word out of him was enough to explain. Link frowned. He had been very careful ever since he came to the Sand City. A fight like this with the Jack Gang was at most a small fight, and definitely not in the eyes of the higher UPS. Now that he had suddenly offended a major power, it was a little strange. However, from this anonymous bounty, Link could also make out some other things. Since the other party had offered a reward, it meant that for the time being, the assassins and bounty hunters from the Platinum Hotel would be dispatched. The other party would not send anyone out again. He wanted to investigate, but he had no leads. Mr. Lin, are you really going to sit here? Thomas raised his wrist and glanced at the diamond-inlaid platinum watch. A friendly reminder, your wanted order will take effect in 1 hour. I still have to thank Platinum Hotel for mediating this, said Link as he stood up. Also, if you have the chance to see John, please thank him for me. Thomas got up and shrugged. The second point is still up to you. Unless John shows himself, no one will be able to find him. Goodbye. I hope I can see you again, Mr. Linear. Thomas fell into deep thought as he watched Link leave. He seemed to understand why John had chosen Link. Although this person was not old, he had a clear view of the problem and could tell that Platinum Hotel was the middle hand. In addition to his strength that exceeded his age, he was really getting more and more fond of him. Thomas took out his phone and dialed. Order number 17,895 will be executed in an hour. In the underground exchange, the operator heard the news and began to enter the information on the computer. Arrest warrant number 17,895. Target name, Link. Wanted requirement, capture alive. Bounty, 200,000. Reward method, anonymous reward. Order limit, none. Execution time, 1 hour later. As he typed on the keyboard and pressed the enter key, the entire information on the arrest warrant was submitted and the countdown to the release of the ban began. At the same time, the large screen in the underground exchange began to roll over the next unlocked bounty missions. Among them, Link's 200,000 bounty was the most eye-catching. A $200,000 bounty was rare. Suddenly, the eyes of the assassins and bounty hunters in the exchange lit up as if they had seen a business opportunity. Help me check Link's mission. This sentence spread quickly in the exchange. Even many traders looked up after checking. It had been a long time since the exchange had such a grand occasion. After Lin Ke left the Platinum Hotel, he did not look for Afu immediately. Instead, he found a shop and changed into a fitting black suit. Just as he stepped out of the store, Link heard a familiar voice from the crowd. Speaking of which, after killing the mysterious four-man team, Link was about to leave when he saw the traitor of the Jack gang, Shaw, walking over with a group of people. At this moment, Link was already on the verge of collapse after the bloody battle. Seeing the traitor in front of him, he couldn't help but worry. In the face of Shaw's repeated insults and provocations, Link suddenly shouted, "Do you all remember the bloody wine and the oath we made last night?" His voice was like thunder, and his aura could swallow mountains and rivers. Xiao Er and the group of traitors were all frightened by this confident shout. What's even more surprising is that at this moment, Xiao Er and the rest of the people suddenly felt as if their hearts were being cut by a knife. This poison oath actually took effect. His intestines were pierced through his stomach. Tisk, 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 tisk. That scene was extremely bloody. Just as the old man was sitting up straight and fiddling with his fan, the phones of the people around him suddenly rang in unison. After reading the message, their eyes were filled with shock. The results are out. The Platinum Hotel has put a bounty on Link. How much is the bounty? Quickly tell me. The old man anxiously stood up from the stool and stretched his neck to take a look. 200,000. How much? The old man was a little dumbfounded. This number was a little scary and beyond his knowledge. 1,234, that's right. 5 zeros, that's 200,000. Chapter 56. Walking out of the underground black market, the siege begins. Old man, from your tone, you were there. A voice suddenly came from the crowd. The old man was quite proud as he waved his fan. What a coincidence, I was there at the scene. Then why haven't I seen you before? Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw a handsome young man. This person seems a little familiar, the onlookers muttered to themselves. The old man who was standing in the middle of the crowd was dumbfounded. Lin Ju Ke Ju Ju Ju. What bad luck did he have today? First, his pretentiousness was exposed by Xiao Er of the Jack gang. And now, Link had seen her acting cool. The old man was stunned for a moment. He covered his heart and rolled his eyes, pretending to fall. Link quickly stepped forward and grabbed the old man's shoulder. The old man is right, this money is for you to smooth your mouth. As he spoke, he stuffed a few hundred yuan into the old man's hand. The old man, who was pretending to be unconscious, couldn't help but raise an eyelid to take a look. When he found that it was indeed money, he couldn't help but shiver all over and immediately returned to normal. Thank you, Mr. Lin. Thank you, Mr. Lin. The grandpa was moved to tears. He never thought that he would be able to earn money by bragging one day. When the other onlookers heard the old man's words, they all stared at the photos attached to the text message. Other than the color of his suit, the person in the photo was the person in front of him. Link. Everyone reacted and took a few steps back to keep a distance. Lin Ke just laughed at this and turned to leave after paying the money. As Link walked, he noticed that many people's phones were vibrating with messages. After reading the message, everyone's eyes focused on Link. Link had never experienced this level of attention in his previous life. The unconcealed greed in her eyes especially made Link's hair stand on end. It was as if he had suddenly become a little white rabbit that had entered the forest by mistake, becoming the hunting target of all living creatures. Dave's watch shop. Dave repaired the arm shield in no time. Mother Fasterisker. He didn't know where Link had gotten the information, but he had no choice but to fix it. When he saw the message on his phone, he suddenly grinned, revealing a mouth full of yellow teeth. He couldn't help but laugh. Your boss is a wanted man. He's actually worth 200,000. Dave's zapped electronic glasses stretched and contracted. He held up 2 fingers, and his expression was exaggerated. Fu trembled when he heard 200,000. What was going on today? Why was 200,000 yuan being raised everywhere? In the morning, when boss drank the potion and grew bigger, it was already 200,000. Why was there another 200,000 yuan on the wanted list this afternoon? However, after being taught by his boss, Fu was no longer interested in this number. Oh! Fu's face remained unchanged. Dave was stunned for a moment. Wasn't this little fatty very easy to scare? Why couldn't he be scared when it was his turn? 200,000. It's not 2,000 or 20,000, it's 200,000. Oh! The few strands of hair on Dave's head were a little messy. This little fatty had only been here for 2 days, and he had gone from a clueless chick to someone who didn't even care about a 200,000 yuan bounty? Did he even understand the meaning of a 200,000 yuan reward? Platinum Hotel's rewards were also divided into several levels. The most common reward was within 50,000 yuan. This was also a touchstone for those with some strength and who had just entered the profession. To be able to successfully complete a few bounties within 50,000 could be said to be a successful entry into the industry. However, there were also many people who would fall here and pay with their lives. After that, there was the 200,000 bounty. Some experienced people would specifically target the bounty missions at this price, and the strength of assassins and bounty hunters would increase significantly. In addition, some organizations and forces would also take the opportunity to make a move. These forces had fewer high-end combat forces, but there were many low-level fish. It was a headache to use the human wave tactic. The third category was the 500,000 level bounty. Entering this bounty level would lead to assassins and bounty hunters who were slightly famous in the industry. If you were unlucky, there would be a big boss on the assassin list who had nothing to do and would take your head. The fourth category was the Platinum Hotel's highest level reward, the $1 million reward. Those who could be listed on the list were all heroes, giants, or top-ranked assassins and bounty hunters. If you have time to tease Fu, have you fixed your arm shield? Link suddenly appeared. He had changed into a clean suit and tidied up his hair. He looked like a rich young master again. Take it. Dave passed the arm shield to Link with a dark face and reminded him, if it's broken again this time, we'll have to pay more for the repair. Link examined the arm shield and thought, as expected of a senior engineer in the mechanic class, his repair speed was extremely fast, and the alloy of the arm shield showed no signs of damage at all, as if it was brand new. What are you looking at? You can tell what I'm doing. Dave's breathing was heavy. He was very unhappy with Link's nitpicking eyes. Let me see if you've hidden a bomb in your arm shield. After all, you can even do such a crazy thing. It's not impossible for you to blow up my arm for 200,000 yuan, right? Said Link, all smiles. Dave's expression was a little flustered. He quickly waved his hand and said, take the things and leave quickly. Don't delay my business. Link left with Fu. After 2 steps, a voice called out, just a 200,000 yuan bounty, don't die. Link didn't turn around. He just raised his hand and said, I won't die even if you die. Fu had been waiting in front of Dave's watch store and hadn't noticed it. Now that they were walking together with their boss, they immediately realized that everyone around them was staring at them with a terrifying gaze. It was creepy. Boss, why are they all staring at us? Then let me ask you, if you can get 200,000 from killing a person, will you do it? Fu scratched his head and sighed. 200,000 yuan. That'll depend on whether we can win. Link chuckled. If even Fu understood this, why wouldn't these people? The back door of the underground black market had been repaired and was now in operation. Link left in his will-o-wisp V8 and headed for the Jack Gang. The news of his $200,000 wanted order seemed to have spread, and he was most worried about the Jack Gang. Although the wanted order was only for him, it would not affect the Jack Gang. However, the small gangs with constant friction around them would definitely take advantage of the fact that no one in the Jack Gang was in charge to launch a large-scale attack and split the benefits. Link rushed back to the Jack gang as fast as he could. However, when they arrived at the block where the Jack gang was located, Lin Ke, who was driving, felt something strange. It was only 5 o'clock in the afternoon, but there was not a single car parked on the street. There was not even a pedestrian. It was so quiet that it seemed like an empty city. Lin Ke did not continue driving. Instead, he stopped the car by the road and took out his phone to check the time. There were only 15 minutes left before the wanted order took effect. Fu, no matter what happens later, stay in the car and don't go out. No matter how stupid Fu was, he could tell that something would happen later. He hurriedly said, "Boss, I can help. Later, when you need help, hide well before it's your turn to go on stage." Fu nodded with certainty, then buried her head in the back seat and hid. Link alighted and asked the treasure-hunting mouse to locate the enemy. After a while, Link felt the treasure-hunting mouse pointing in his pocket, trying to locate the enemy. It was just that the frequency and density of the attacks made it clear that he was surrounded by a large army. Link raised his head to look at the residential buildings on both sides. Usually, the windows would be wide open at this time of the day. The streets were packed with people, and one could even hear the noise from the residential buildings. But at this moment, all the windows were closed, and the street was eerily quiet. Hwala lala 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 lala. Link had only taken a few steps when countless people suddenly swarmed out of the alleys and residential buildings. It was as if zombies had surrounded the city. They rushed out from all directions and quickly surrounded Link and the car. It was 5 o'clock in the afternoon in Shadu, and the sun began to set in the west. The setting sun's red light wrapped around the burning clouds in the sky, turning the entire sand red. Fu, who was hiding in the car, couldn't help but stick out his head to take a look. He was so scared that he immediately shrank his head back. Link looked at the red-stained white clothes and the white crane emblem on the cuffs. He knew who they were. As expected of a large gang in the slums, their reaction and organization were fast. "You killed my 12th and 13th brothers. I'm going to cut you into 8 pieces today." A man as large as a mountain walked out from the minions. His body was full of muscles and was full of explosive power. However, he looked slightly inferior to the big guy he had dealt with in the underground black market. "If it's just you, I'm afraid it won't be enough." Link's expression was calm. He wasn't intimidated by the thugs. When the man came out, Link cast Detect on him. It was only a level 12 plus, elite, spell, so he was not afraid at all. "Humph, these 100 brothers can drown you with their saliva. You're so shameless." Link placed his hands behind his back and paced around the encirclement, buying time and observing. "If you guys wanted to kill me, you could have just hidden in the building and fired at me. Why would you have surrounded me? To put it bluntly, you want to kill me and get the 200,000 yuan reward. What brotherhood? I'm just stalling for time and waiting for the contract to be officially released." "All right." Suddenly, a confident shout came from the crowd, followed by a round of applause, and the hatchet men all made way. A lean old man in a colorful tang suit and round-framed black sunglasses walked out of the group of thugs. His thick black hair was combed into a slick back, and he looked to be in high spirits. 5 young and middle-aged men stood on either side of him. They were all muscular and looked like they were all good candidates for the martial arts department. "I told you, I've killed 2 of the core members of White Crane Hall. How could you not be there to warn the others?" The foster sons moved a heavy mahogany-carved chair and gently placed it on the ground. Old Crane took the walking stick and sat down with his legs crossed. "Young man, I admire you more and more. If you had appeared earlier, I'm afraid the one who would have been adopted as the 13th foster son would not have been Jack, but you." 57 Chapter 57, Friend or Foe? Link pursed his lips. Old Crane had been famous on the forums in his previous life, and was known as the white-bearded man in Destiny. When he met a young man with extraordinary strength, he would say, "You're awesome. Be my son." Many players had been taken advantage of by this old man, but they didn't expect it to be their turn today. However, you are now wanted by Platinum Hotel. With a 200,000 yuan reward, I can't protect you with my old bones. With that, Link felt that the old crane's entire aura had turned dark. The soft orange light of the setting sun shone on old crane's glasses, making him look like a skeleton in a grave. Old crane had concealed all his aura. He was like a hunter hiding in the forest, waiting for his prey to be careless before striking at lightning speed. Link's back was drenched in cold sweat. He used detection on old crane and saw some data. Based on the level difference between you and the target, the following data has been obtained. Name, Old Crane. Race, Human. Level, Level 20+, Elite. Occupation, Pugilist. Identity, Master of White Crane Hall, one of the 6 masters of the water transportation gang. HP, 2400/2400. Energy, 700/700. Attributes, Strength 60, others unknown. Skill, Crane Form Style LV6, other unknown. Equipment, unknown. Specialty, Immortal Crane Health Maintenance Technique, others unknown. Evaluation, many children. Link's expression was grim. This would be the toughest battle he'd faced since his rebirth. There was one level 20+, elite, 11 level 10+, elite, and hundreds of level 5 minions. There was almost no hope for this battle. Lin Ke looked at his watch. There were only 5 minutes left before the bounty contract was lifted. Link observed his surroundings and thought, if he was determined to run, he would definitely be able to escape with the protection of the Sand Eagle, the arm shield to absorb the fire, the throat crusher and the poison-smeared flying knife to break his defense. But if he ran away, Fu would be caught in the center of the vortex. He would definitely become the target of the anger of the people of White Crane Hall. Although Link knew the way to resurrect NPCs, this was definitely the last resort. Link's brain was working at full speed, trying to think of a way to escape. He already had an immature idea, but it was worth trying. Time passed quickly. There was not much time left for Link. Why do you have to keep looking at the time? You can't escape, no matter how much you struggle, it's useless. One of the 13 gangsters said. Just as the 13 gangsters finished speaking, a mocking voice suddenly came from behind them. Wow, Old Crane, you're putting on a big show on the street instead of the White Crane Hall. The White Crane Hall is working here. Who do you think you are to criticize my foster father? The tycoon who had just spoken immediately retaliated. Hehe, I've long heard of the loyalty of the 13 guardians under you, Old Crane. They truly live up to their reputation. At this moment, all the hatchet men of White Crane Hall at the outermost perimeter turned around, and a burst of exclamations came from the crowd, the Suanwu Hall is here. Hearing the name of the Black Tortoise Hall, the 13 gangsters turned around in shock. Holding his scepter with both hands, Old Crane pursed his lips. Link's brows relaxed. The situation had changed. The Suanwu Hall was one of the 6 branches of the water transportation gang, which was on par with the White Crane Hall. The two had never been on good terms. This time, the Suanwu Hall had come to take the credit, so he had the opportunity to escape in the chaos. What Link had to do now was to wait and see. Yo, it looks like everyone is here. The leader was a skinny old man. His body was slightly hunched, his hands were behind his back, and his front teeth were missing. He was wearing a white vest and an ordinary t-shirt underneath. It was a stark contrast to Old Crane's luxurious appearance. Whether it was the minions of White Crane Hall or the 13 gangsters, they all stepped back and made way for the old man. They lowered their heads and called him Old Turtle. In other places, more people from the Black Tortoise Hall appeared from the corner of the street and surrounded the people from the White Crane Hall. Behind Old Turtle, there were also 4 young people. Looking at their movements, they were all well-trained martial artists. Link quickly scanned it with detection. Elder Turtle of the Suanwu Hall was a level 21 elite, and the 4 disciples behind him were also level 10 elite. The 4 young men also brought a stool over. Compared to Elder He's luxurious mahogany bench, the creaking old bench under Old Turtle's butt looked more like it had been pulled out of an abandoned house. Old Crane, it's not always better to have more sons. Other than martial arts, you should teach them how to be human. Otherwise, if you don't teach him, someone else will. At that time, it won't be as simple as just a slap. Old Crane's face darkened. He snorted. 11. Slap your mouth and apologize to Old Turtle. The arrogant 11th Guardian now walked to Old Turtle with his tail between his legs. She lowered her head, reached out her hand, and started slapping her own face. He only stopped when his face was swollen and blood was flowing out of his nose and mouth. I didn't know it was Old Turtle. Please forgive me for my rudeness. Old Turtle chuckled and waved his hand, indicating that he could get lost. Wu Sansi, what do you mean by this? Old Crane pointed his scepter at the hatchet men of the Black Tortoise Hall who had surrounded them. With one foot on the edge of the chair, Old Turtle dug his nose with the other hand and said, "That's what you see. So you're obviously going against me and want to steal my head." Old Turtle flicked the big booger he had dug out away, then rubbed his nose and said, "No, no. Do you think I'm someone who needs 200000? Then what do you mean by that?" The Turtle Elder shot up from his stool and looked Link up and down. "Look at this kid. He's neither haughty nor humble in the face of such a deadly situation. There's no fear in his eyes." Old Turtle suddenly turned his head and said, "I heard he's the boss of your Jack gang. For 200,000, you're so cruel to your own gang. This is too disappointing." Old Crane's face twitched visibly. He rose to his feet and cursed, "You old bastard, if you have something to say, say it. Don't be so sarcastic." The wrinkles on Old Turtle's face almost looked like a 1,000-layered cake. "Hee, you finally can't take it anymore? Can't pretend anymore? Damn it, he's just a porter at the dock. He got lucky and picked up a secret manual to get to where he is today. Look at you now, you're wearing a mahogany and gold-threaded tang suit. Those who know you might recognize it as a mahogany bench, but those who can't would think that this is a coffin made for your mother." Old Crane's face was red, and the people of White Crane Hall behind him were holding their breaths. Link stood in the middle of the arena, dumbfounded. In his previous life, he had heard the players on the forum say that this turtle Old Wu had thought twice and was Zhuan language level 8. Seeing it today, it indeed lived up to its reputation. "Old bastard, you're here today to find trouble, aren't you?" Old Turtle also rolled up his sleeves, looking like he was going to fight. "Then I'll also tell you clearly that I'll definitely protect this kid today." As soon as these words came out, the entire place fell silent. Even Link was stunned. "This old man, we're not related to each other, isn't this a little inappropriate?" Link glanced at the 4 young men behind the turtle old man and thought, could it be that he was also a professional in taking in sons? "Wu Sansi, this man killed 2 of my foster sons. I'm here to take revenge. I can settle our grudges in any way I want, but if you don't know what's good for you, I'll really hit you. By then, even if Green Dragon's boss finds out about this, I'll still have a reason for it." Old Crane rose to his feet. "He Tonjian, your revenge is a big deal, but my gratitude is a small deal? Young master, you're acting noble in front of me. This kid." However, the artist had personally selected her to enter the Platinum Hotel. "The painter had saved my life when I was still a boatman. He's always so elusive. Since the painter thinks highly of this kid, I'll definitely save him," the Turtle Elder said firmly. "Wu Sansi, you'd better think this through. He has a 200,000 yuan bounty on his head. Do you think you can handle that? When I get back, I'll write you a report in front of the boss of Green Dragon, saying that you're abusing your position for personal gain and bringing hidden dangers to my water transportation business. Old Turtle put his hands behind his back and stood there arrogantly, unmoved. Renaissance. If a fight breaks out later, don't hold back. Beat him up. I'll take responsibility for everything. Yes, sir. The four sons behind him took a step forward in unison, their killing intent obvious. The 13 gangsters of White Crane Hall were not to be outdone. They immediately glared back at him. The shooters from both sides also pulled out their guns, waiting for the order. The atmosphere suddenly became so tense that one could hear a pin drop. As the confrontation continued, time passed by. Link's bounty contract was officially lifted. Old Crane's face was livid. After a moment of silence, he gritted his teeth. Let's see if you can protect him forever. Let's go. At Old Crane's command, the 13 tycoons of White Crane Hall carried the mahogany bench on their shoulders and left in a mighty formation. Old Turtle glanced at Hitanjian, who had been defeated, then grinned. He won again. Old Turtle walked towards Link with his hands behind his back. But to his surprise, Link suddenly took out the Desert Eagle and pointed it at Old Turtle. If you have anything to say, just stand there. There's no need to get too close. To be honest, Link was still on guard. On the surface, it did seem like Elder Gui had driven Elder He and White Crane Hall away. However, he couldn't completely believe what the other party said. Who knew if they were putting on a show to lower his guard? Link, what are you doing? You ungrateful bastard! Foster father helped you out of your predicament, but you pointed a gun at him. Bastard! The four Renaissance men's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. They looked like they wanted to skin Link alive. On the other hand, Old Turtle stroked his white beard and nodded in satisfaction. I'm relieved to have such vigilance. I can only protect you this once. You have to walk the rest of the path on your own. After saying that, Old Turtle waved his hand to signal the people of the Suanwu Hall to retreat. The streets that had been filled with people were now only left with Link and Afu in the car. You have triggered the sea-level mission gold reward. Mission hint: Platinum Hotel's 200,000 gold level bounty contract is officially in effect. From now on, you will face assassins, bounty hunters, and forces at any time. Your only goal is to survive. Mission reward: a dynamic assessment based on each wave of action. Boss, we survived. Afu's face was full of surprise. The dense crowd of people just now had instantly disappeared without a trace. No, it's the opposite. The real danger has just begun. Link looked at the end of the setting sun meaningfully. Chapter 58: Returning to the Jack Gang. It was another C-rank mission with no time limit and no specific reward. When he was still a player, he would not even bother with such a bounty mission. After all, what was there to be afraid of in a mission that could be eliminated with one death? However, Link was now an NPC. He would really die if he died once. As for the method to resurrect the NPCs, Link glanced at Fu, who was sitting in the passenger seat, and mumbled. Tisk, let's just pretend that this never happened. Boss, am I particularly useless? Fu looked depressed and his tone was also very low. Link turned around and asked, why are you suddenly saying such demoralizing words? Fu lowered his head and said in a muffled voice, every time there's danger, Boss always tells me to stand aside. Although comforting me was useful, I knew that my only use was to loot a corpse and carry something for Boss. If we really fight, I'll just be a burden. In today's situation, Boss, you could have run away by yourself. It must be because of me that you didn't manage to escape. Link glanced at Fu and found that his eyes were like frozen water pipes that kept spraying water out. This was the first time Link realized that Fu water had so many crickets. Fu had exposed Link's white lie, leaving him at a loss for words to comfort her. This was Link's life and death friend after crossing the desert. He was also the first servant to have 100% loyalty points. Although she was cowardly, she was loyal and could help Link. With one hand on the steering wheel, Link patted Fu's shoulder and said, "You'll be in charge of logistics. Leave the battle to the pets. You have your own strengths. If you let the treasure-hunting mouse and the sand eagle do the logistics, they will definitely not do as well as you." Squeak. Asterisk. The treasure-hunting mouse pouted in protest. Fu wiped her tears and sobbed. "But I don't want to be a burden." All right. Won't it be better if you improve in the future?" After comforting Fu, Link quickly returned to the block where the Jack gang was. However, as he drove, he suddenly noticed many strange-looking cars. He parked the Will-O-Wisp V8 by the side of the road and got out of the car. He saw a pickup truck with the letter P printed on it, the Pacino family's badge. Link furrowed his brows. The scene he least wanted to face had arrived. Things were just as he had expected. After the small gangs in the vicinity found out that the new boss of the Jack gang had a bounty on his head, they gathered their courage and joined hands, ready to completely wipe the Jack gang off the map and divide all the assets. "I'm still too late," said Link, gritting his teeth. The dozen or so brothers of the Jack gang, including third brother, were all loyal to him. Because of him, he hadn't even enjoyed a day of good life before he was besieged. "Fu, follow behind me." Link's eyes burned with rage. It was fine if the big gangs and assassins came, but these small gangs actually dared to touch his head. "Idiot, get into position on the roof." The sand eagle flapped its wings and took off. Link then used the eye of the beast on it. The sand eagle quickly flew to the top of the building and landed on the edge. Through the dumbass perspective, Link saw that there were many people in the Jack gang's flat. They were all dressed in the clothes of the nearby small gangs. On the contrary, there were no dead bodies of the Jack gang members on the ground. Link furrowed his brows. He wasn't sure if the thugs had been killed by the three factions or if they had been tied up. There were signs of people ransacking the place, and Link couldn't see if there were any signs of battle. "Xiaobao, marching ants, it's your turn now." The treasure-hunting mouse popped its head out of the pocket of its suit and rubbed its chubby cheeks with its two little claws to wake itself up. The army of ants moved from Link's suit to the ground and continued to form the worker, soldier, and flight army. They split up and flew to the iron frame at the top of the level, ready to scatter the flowers. "Fu, I'll give you a mission." As Link spoke, he suddenly pulled out a small knife. "Later on, go to the street and puncture all the tires that you don't know." Fu took the knife and took out her own chef's knife from her backpack. "I'm determined to complete the mission." Fu's eyes lit up. This time, he was finally no longer playing the role of a hideout, but was truly participating in this war. "All right, you can do it now. But remember, if you see something wrong, immediately run in, do you hear me?" Fu nodded repeatedly. "Don't worry, boss. You know that I'm most afraid of death." With a dagger in one hand and a vegetable knife in the other, Fu eagerly went to puncture the car tire. Looking at Fu's back, Link let out a long breath. It wasn't easy for him to be the boss. In order to let Fu have a sense of participation, he had to arrange such a strange task. After sending Fu away, Link's expression darkened. He took out the Desert Eagle with his left hand and wanted to take out the submachine gun with his right hand. However, after a moment of hesitation, he chose to use Throat Shatter. The thugs of small gangs were basically at the level of level 5-6. Instead of using submachine gun to shoot 7 bullets to kill a person, it was better to use Throat Shatter to insta-kill. Link straightened his back and walked into the alley. Since he was already here, he might as well stay. As the sun set in the west, the entire Grand Canal was shimmering with light. The light shone on the large flat floor beside the dock, and the shadows of the buildings and people were dragged very long. Although the red light wasn't blinding, the red light was so bright that it made people feel dazed when they saw things. Dressed in a brand new suit, Link held the Desert Eagle in one hand and the Throat Crusher in the other. He walked straight into the Jack gang like a messenger of hell who had been in the world for a long time, ready to enjoy a feast. The thugs from the various sects were busy fighting to transport the goods, trying to get more for the sects. No one noticed Link walking in openly to take a look. In the office of the Jack gang, the group of 7, the Pacino family, and the representatives of the Lummen Club sat in front of a small round glass table and began the friendly negotiation on the division of the Jack gang's territory. This piece of land in the west is connected to the family's territory, so it should be occupied by our Pacino family. I don't agree. In the Jack gang's territory, the west side of the commercial street was the richest, and it also received the most protection fees. If this piece of land is given to your Pacino family, then what about the other 2 families? Yet, if we're talking about proximity, the territory of the 7 is also connected to the west. Why don't you say that you are giving the west to the 7? We won't be able to reach a conclusion by arguing like this, so why don't we draw lots to decide? I refuse. Everyone knows you're the little gambling god of the 5th Street. If I bet with you, the business street will definitely fall into your hands. At that time, Lummen will open up the territory and go deep into the hinterlands, and the other 2 families will not have it easy. Then if we don't agree, how are we going to split the territory? Just as the 3 of them were looking at each other, a shriek that sounded like a pig being slaughtered came from outside. Enemy attack! The 3 guardsmen guarding the entrance also ran in quickly and said to their respective representatives, "Someone barged into the Jack gang. How many people are there on the other side?" The representative of the group of 7 stood up first. "Just one." "He's just one person? Then what's the point of telling me? The 3 forces henchmen are all here. Can't they kill him?" Just as they were talking in the house, gunshots were heard outside. The sound of the 2 melded together. The 3rd brother and the rest of the people hiding in the basement were overjoyed. They're fighting! They're fighting! It's definitely because of the uneven distribution of loot. They didn't know the secret business of the Jack gang, so they could only divide the territory. And the territory of the Jack gang is the most prosperous and profitable business street in the west, so they will definitely focus on this piece of land. However, all 3 families would definitely want this piece of fertile land, so it would definitely be inappropriate to discuss it. In the end, it will turn into the current situation where the loot is not evenly divided and the martial force will fight for the Kazaya. 3rd brother is truly a god. Even though I'm in the basement, I know the situation above like the back of my hand. Then, 3rd brother, should we kill our way out after they're done fighting? The 3rd brother, Mr. Kong, waved his hand and said, "The situation outside is unclear. We can just preserve our strength. As long as the safe and the wild animals are still there, we can survive and develop. We're short on manpower now, so losing any of them would be a huge loss. Moreover, with boss being wanted, the peace in Chita will be broken. Quite a few gangs will come out to take a share of the loot. It might be the darkest time in the following period of time, so everyone must remember to keep a low profile." Jack gang, outside the bright flat. Link was only discovered when he reached the door. Lin K added the last of his potential points to agility. His 21 points of agility completely surpassed all the goons present. Whether it was attack speed or movement speed, there was a huge increase. He was as fast as the wind. 9 Desert Eagle bullets poured out, taking out 2 people before the others could react. Then, he used the throat crusher on his left hand and the arm shield on his right hand. His body continued to weave through the hatchet men. The army ants also descended from the top of their heads, attached themselves to everyone's body, and started biting. It attracted most of the attention of the underlings. Link activated the sharp blade effect and added a layer of sharpness to the blade of the throat crusher. Coupled with the throat cutter effect, 1 slash was enough to cause the thugs to bleed. With 21 points of agility, he could completely crush these hooligans who only had 5 points of agility. The thugs couldn't even see Link's face before a red line appeared on his neck. In the next second, a mist of blood spurted out like a pressure cooker. Finally, his throat burst, and a series of pipes burst out. -150. -170. -150. All sorts of large numbers of critical damage appeared above the enemy's head. It wasn't that Link couldn't deal high damage, but these nobodies only had so much HP. One hit and they would explode. Although he had seen the special effects and statistics of Throat Crusher before, this was the first time he had used it on a large scale. The pleasure of killing it instantly was indescribable. In the game, Lin Ke clearly remembered the first time he had experienced an instant kill. It was when he had obtained a pair of blue gloves with armor-piercing effects when he was level 35. It was only when he had killed the zealots of the Machinery Faith and the mercenaries of the Wasteland Gang that he had managed to achieve the instant kill effect. Now, he had advanced to level 12 in one leap. Visibility was poor at dusk to begin with, and coupled with Link's speed, all they could see was an afterimage. As a result, the bouncers outside started shooting randomly in fear. The thugs were like leaks, falling down one by one. Soon, the entire level outside was filled with corpses, and blood flowed like a river. It was like a breathtaking oil painting when it was mixed with the red of the setting sun. Link strolled into the house of the Jack Gang, with the treasure-hunting mouse leading the army of ants. Link stood in the rest area. Then, he heard screams and gunshots from the office. A moment later, a few messages popped up from the system, and everything returned to normal. Your army ants have killed the Pacino family's representative. You have received 400 experience points. Your army ant has killed the 7-person group of representatives. You have received 500 experience points. Your army ant has killed the representative of the Rumen Guild. You have received 400 experience points. Chapter 59. Who says that I, Afu, am the Iron Five again? Link's original plan was to have the army ants restrain the three while he talked with the 3 representatives. He didn't expect the army ants to be so violent that they killed the 6 people in the room. However, Link could only express his deep sorrow and understanding. After all, we of you. From this morning on, every wave of combat ants would be Link's trump card. From the female mutant killer Miss Hottie in the morning to the man in black and the traitor Xiao Er in the afternoon. The army ants had all laid in ambush, but none of them had succeeded. Although these guys were young, they still had resentment. Therefore, the few people in the office had completely run into the muzzle. 3,000 army ants rushed into the office and expressed their love to the people in the office 3,000 times. Like a king, Link was welcomed into the office by the army of ants. The 6 corpses on the ground had died a horrible death. All their skin had been eaten by the army ants, revealing dark red muscles and tendons. The blood was bubbling like a Baotu spring, and it looked like it was boiling. The 6 of them had ferocious expressions. When they died, their mouths were wide open and their limbs were twisted. Coupled with the state of death after being skinned, it looked like he had suffered terrible torture in the final stage. Link pinched his nose. Even he couldn't stand the scene before him. If they were players, they could also choose to block the percentage of blood violence. However, he was now an NPC in the game, and there was no option to block it, so he had to endure all kinds of scenes. Silver Army ants, listen up. Move these 6 corpses out. As soon as he finished speaking, the 3,000 Silver Army ants swarmed forward and carried the corpses out of the door. In less than a minute, even the blood on the ground had completely disappeared, cleared out by the army ants. It was really a divine weapon that was necessary for killing people and stealing goods. Link scanned the office again. It was a mess, but all the safe boxes were gone. Just then, the treasure-hunting mouse's meaty nose started twitching. It quickly climbed onto Link's shoulder and started chirping non-stop. Little Treasure reached out his little paw and pointed at the ground. You mean, there's someone in the basement? The treasure-seeking mouse nodded. Link walked up to the bookshelf. Many books on the shelf had been pushed to the ground, but it was a coincidence that the red-covered Encyclopedia of Animals was on the shelf, and it was one of the few books that had not been removed. Link took out the Encyclopedia of Animals and activated the hidden door roller. The door of the bookshelf slowly opened. The members of the Jack gang in the basement trembled. The secret door had been discovered. "We're already dead," third brother commanded in a low voice. "There's no way out now, use all your confidence and strength to defend the basement. They just went through a battle. They definitely don't have much manpower and ammunition left. We can definitely hold on." With third brother's encouragement and the fact that there was no way out, the remaining hatchet men all focused their attention and guarded the passage with all their might. The sound of the secret door opening reverberated in the basement. Third brother and the others were sweating profusely, and their eyes were filled with anxiety. However, after the secret door was opened, there was no sound of footsteps, which made their hearts hang in suspense. "Third brother, they won't just throw a grenade in, will they?" the thug asked in a trembling voice. "Impossible. All kinds of explosives were prohibited in the Sand City. If we throw the grenades, they'll all die," the third brother said firmly. In Shandu, all kinds of firearms were allowed. However, grenades, explosives, and heavy military weapons were all strictly prohibited. Once they were discovered, the guards of the Sand Capital would arrive at the scene as soon as possible and arrest all the people involved. The three sovereigns of Sand City. Moros controlled the economy of Shandu, while Derek controlled the underground black market and the Platinum Hotel. However, neither of them was the most powerful force in Shandu. It was the top force in Shandu, General Alongso, who controlled the guards of Shandu. He had the authority to command the Shandu army, with hundreds of thousands of troops under him, as well as all kinds of missiles, tanks, fighter jets, and other heavy firepower military equipment. He was the one who set the rules of the city. As for Link's battle, the explosion had occurred at the back door of the black market, which was considered part of the black market's territory. Hence, the military had not intervened. If this had happened outside the dark alley, Link would have definitely been arrested by the military. Back to the basement of the Jack gang. Everyone was on tenterhooks for a long time, but they didn't hear any footsteps. In the end, he only saw a rat sticking its head out. "All right, come on up." The next second, Link's voice came through the secret door. Third brother's body tensed up, his face full of disbelief. "Boss, Zhen Zhen didn't die? You're alive and back." The other hatchet men were also completely dumbfounded. They had been discussing for a long time in the basement. The new boss had offended White Crane Hall and the underground black market. He had even offered a 200,000 gold reward, and the people of White Crane Hall had come out in full force. Under such circumstances, there was no way boss could come back alive. But now, the Dark Clan's voice did not seem to be fake. Most importantly, the rat on boss's body couldn't be fake. The third brother held his head, his face full of pain. This is impossible. In such a situation, there was no way he could escape. That was a reward of 200,000 gold coins, and even the White Crane Hall was willing to give it their all. Impossible, Yingluo, this is impossible, Yingluo. Third brother, come up and help move the bodies. Don't be lazy. Fu's voice was full of confidence. When they heard the dark fatty's voice, everyone completely believed that their boss had returned. The thugs supported third brother with both hands and walked out of the basement. This is Boss Wu Fu. The thugs came out of the basement and were stunned to see a tall and handsome young man. What, you don't recognize me after not seeing me for half a day? Number 3 and the thugs looked closely. From Link's already developed facial features, they could vaguely make out his previous appearance. You can't blame us for not knowing each other. When we went out this morning, we were still the same. Isn't this change too big? Link clapped his hands, signaling for everyone to focus their attention. First, I'm still carrying the golden bounty on Platinum Hotel's head, but it's only for me. I won't implicate you guys. Second, the siege of White Crane Hall has been dispersed. There is no need to worry. Third, I've already killed the members of the Group of Seven, the Rumen Society, and the Pacino family. Now, place their bodies at the dock according to their gang, and then clean up the place. Link's 3 points dispelled the fear in the thugs' hearts, but it also created many doubts. Link looked at everyone's confused expressions and smiled. I know you have a lot of questions, but it's time to work. As for your questions, I believe tonight's news will answer them all. There were some things that would lose its meaning if he said it. If these thugs were to dig through their own information channels, the answers they would get would definitely be much more shocking. I'm going to rest for a while. You guys go ahead and do your work. Don't disturb me if there's nothing important. Link then brought Fu back to his room. Although he appeared calm in front of his subordinates, he was actually very anxious. Today's experience had been too exciting. So many things had happened and implicated so many people that it had exceeded Link's original plan. The multiple battles had also exposed one of Link's problems: his combat style was singular. The pet he had now. The treasure hunting mouse's main function was to detect enemies. The Sand Eagle's purpose was to use the Sand Tornado to create a barrier to protect Link from combat or to protect him from movement. The army ants were Link's hidden trump card and ultimate. However, after so many battles, his current combat style had no trump cards to speak of. In addition, the assassins and bounty hunters that were offered with gold bounties would be of a higher level. So, Lin K needed a new pet or a new combat power. He took out the sealed iron box filled with the blood of the mutated human from his gun belt, removed the arm shield, and took out the remaining 2 tubes of liquid explosives. Link looked at the materials in front of him and started combining them. According to the current combat style, pet synthesis should be small-sized. Too big a creature is too big a target, it can't be used for a surprise attack. As Link analyzed, he suddenly remembered that there was still a shroud from Pharaoh Tumen in AFU's bag. He immediately shouted, "Fu, bring me SPHYNX Cat's shroud from my bag." Link switched to the synthesis interface and waited for Fu to bring the items. Fu buried her head in her bag, took out the wrapped Tumen Pharaoh, and trotted all the way from the next room. "Boss, here you go." The moment Link took the Pharaoh's shroud, he saw that the blank space on the synthesis interface was suddenly filled with materials. It also showed that the success rate was as high as 120%. It was fleeting, but Link still caught it. Link was confused. He took the shroud, but why did the synthesis formula directly fill in 3 things? Fu, reach out and grab the shroud again. Although his boss's request was a little strange, Fu still did as he was told. Immediately, Link saw the filler on the synthesis interface and was speechless. Even this is F***ing possible? You can even synthesize Fu. On the synthesis formula, it was WVU. AFU, adult, plus the shroud of the Pharaoh of Tumen plus condom equals success rate of 120%. Fu, what's that in your pocket? Fu touched his pocket and took out a sealed condom. His eyes were bright as he said, "Boss, I always carry holsters with me. I can put them on when the wind and sand get heavy." Seeing Fu's innocent laughter, Link was tempted. The success rate of the Desert Army Ant synthesis was 100%, and the synthesized Silver Army Ant would be blue grade. Now, the compatibility between Afu and Pharaoh's shroud had reached a terrifying 120%, and the synthesized product must be blue quality. Although the synthesis formula seemed a little weird, Link was still tempted. "Fu, do you want to become stronger?" Fu's eyes lit up and he nodded repeatedly. "Boss, can I become stronger?" "Yes," Link nodded firmly. "However, there will be a price to pay." "Any price is fine. I hate myself for not being able to help right now. As long as I can help, boss, I'll accept any price." "Good. Now, take a deep breath and close your eyes." The success rate was 120%, so there was no need to worry about failure. Bone synthesis will consume 120 health points. Do you wish to synthesize? Yes/no. Synthesis. As soon as he finished speaking, countless blood vessels appeared in Link's palm. They quickly wrapped around the Pharotoman's shroud and continued to spread. It wrapped around Fu, forming a huge blood cocoon. Blood cocoon incubation countdown, 40 minutes. Link raised an eyebrow. The silver army ants took 30 minutes to hatch. In terms of incubation time, Fu seemed to be more powerful. Chapter 60, Great Make Link Again. While waiting for Fu to hatch, Link didn't just sit there. Fu being able to synthesize it was a complete surprise. But that didn't mean that the original plan would be disrupted. The fusion just now had taken away 120 health points, so Link chose to level up and recover his health first. LV12 level 13 requires 10100 experience points. Do you want to upgrade? Yes/no. Yes. After leveling up, Link still had 67585 experience points left. Indiana his experience pool. Then, Link held all the army ants in his hands and picked up the arm shield. Silver army ant plus arm shield equals? Success rate 95%. Link's eyes brightened at the high success rate. His thoughts were indeed correct. The success rate of synthesizing materials with similar attributes would indeed be higher. Then why does Fu have such a high affinity with bandages and condoms? Link furrowed his brows. He was at a loss. Bone synthesis will consume 100 health points. Do you wish to synthesize? Yes/no. Synthesis. Soon, Link felt as if his body had been emptied again. The arm shield was completely absorbed by his body, and the silver army ant formed a fist-sized blood cocoon, waiting to hatch. Blood cocoon incubation countdown, 20 minutes. Looking at the hatching time, Link's doubts deepened. The blue-grade silver army ant and the green-grade arm shield took less time to synthesize than Fu? Could it be that the incubation time was not only linked to the quality, but also to the volume and tonnage? Link looked at the two remaining materials on the table and was in a dilemma. The first was the blood of the blood healer mutated human. The success rate of the treasure hunting mouse, the sand sculpture, and this material was below 50%. Secondly, the mutant's blood had a powerful blood recovery function. It was best if the newly synthesized thing could also have a blood recovery effect. Therefore, the biological selection was extremely important. In the game Fate, one of the more hardcore problems was the problem of HP recovery. In other games, one could recover HP by breathing, taking pills, or even sleeping. There were many ways to do so. However, in the initial version of Destiny, health points would not recover and increase normally. There were only 3 ways to recover HP. 1. Take tonics to recover health. However, the prices of the tonics in the game were extremely high. The lowest level secondary health potion could recover 100 HP at a time and cost 30,000 wasteland coins. It was not something that ordinary people could afford. 2. The hospital or medical bay will be restored. The price was relatively cheap, and the fee would be charged according to the severity of the injury. The price fluctuated between 500 to 2,000 wasteland coins. The disadvantage was that it took a long time. It usually took 5 to 6 hours to recover, and he could only stay motionless in the medical cabin, which was quite boring. Moreover, the security of the hospital was ordinary, so it was easy to be a living target after entering the medical cabin. 3. Special profession skills or specialties. For example, the mysterious werewolves and the Blood Clan had the ability to recover blood. For pugilists in the pugilist department, after they reached the middle stage, they would have the internal cultivation method, muscle bone strengthening scripture, which could turn essence into blood. Engineers from the mechanic class also had the charge skill, which could create self-circulating equipment and convert their energy into health points. Therefore, during the game time, players created a small technique to retain their experience and quickly level up and recover HP after leaving the battle. It was only in the later versions of the universe that the problem of HP recovery was no longer a problem for players. Link now had the blood of a mutated human blood healer. It was an extremely rare blood replenishing substance. If he could grasp this opportunity and create a creature that could continuously produce blood or heal injuries, it would be equivalent to having a mobile blood bank, and he would no longer have to worry about recovering blood in the future. Link did not have any good ideas yet, so he put the mutated human blood healer's blood aside. Next, all that was left was the highly concentrated liquid explosives. There was no need to elaborate on the power of this thing. 3 bottles could blow up a level 15 elite, and its power was immense. However, the military in Shandu had regulations on dangerous explosives, and anyone who used dangerous explosives would be arrested by the military. If you want to synthesize it, you must use an inconspicuous biological kazaya. Link couldn't figure it out. There was still some time before the cocoon would break out. He decided to go out and take a look. Before that, Link had to level up again to max out his health points. LV13 level 14 requires 11400 experience points. Do you want to level up? Yes/no. Yes. Link walked out of the room and found that the office had been tidied up. The thugs were busy outside, whispering to each other. Isn't this too terrifying? Did you see the 6 bloody figures outside the door? You're talking nonsense. I was so scared that my legs went soft as soon as I stepped out of the door. This is too terrifying. Look, there are 40 bodies. Other than the 6 bloodied men and the 2 headshots, the rest were all killed by a slit in the throat. Boss killed all the people in 3 gangs by himself. I'm afraid even the previous boss Jack couldn't do it, right? At this time, other thugs came over. I just called and asked. I know something even more awesome. Do you want to hear it? Don't keep me in suspense, hurry up and tell me. The thug ran over with his phone and said mysteriously, I just called to ask. It turns out that White Crane Hall really went all out today, but at the critical moment, Black Tortoise Hall came out to protect boss. Wait. Isn't our Jack gang a small gang under the White Crane Hall? Why did the Suanmu Hall come out to protect boss? I heard that boss is the painter's chosen successor. The painter saved Old Turtle's life before, so Old Turtle would rather go to war to protect boss. This is terrifying. The artist Ying Ying you're talking about isn't the artist of the legendary King of Assassins, is it? Of course. Who else can recommend the boss to enter the Platinum Hotel? What kind of background does our boss have? Why is it that the more I listen to him, the more my legs can't help but tremble? F***ck, stop it. I still feel like I'm dreaming. If the thugs were still in a daze, then the third brother, Mr. Kong, had simply shut himself in. He sat on a bench on the terrace and stared at the setting sun in the distance. The third son, Mr. Kong, also had some connections in Shandu. After Boss Link finished his 3 points to calm everyone down, he also called out of curiosity to confirm. In the end, the news he received was 100 times more interesting than what the thugs had sent him earlier. Yesterday, third brother had only sought refuge with the new boss to protect himself. But who would have thought that this ordinary boss had so many connections behind him? Good day, boss. The thugs behind him all bowed and greeted Link. Third brother hurriedly stood up and greeted Link as well. We'll keep the guns we found on these people for our own use. You guys can split the money equally. As for the cars outside, confiscate them all. Third brother will find some connections and sell them all. Hearing Link's words, everyone's faces lit up with smiles. Although this wave was dangerous, it was a great profit. As soon as Link finished speaking, the system showed that almost everyone's loyalty had increased slightly. As for the gold bounty that the thugs were worried about, they put it to the back of their minds after learning that Link was in contact with the legendary King of Assassins, the painter. How could a person that the king of assassins was optimistic about fail because of a small gold bounty? Are you kidding me? He wouldn't even be afraid of a platinum reward. If Link knew what these thugs were thinking, he would definitely curse. I just wanted to act cool, you guys really want me to die. Alright, everyone, let's continue with our work. Link clapped his hands, and the men continued moving the corpses. On the contrary, it was third brother who came over and asked with a puzzled face, Boss, I wonder why you want us to separate the corpses of the three sects. Link looked at third brother, his lips curling up. I think you've already guessed it. I'm asking you if you dare to go. Third brother didn't even think about it and nodded his head with certainty. The two armies didn't even kill the messenger when they were fighting, so what's there to be afraid of returning the corpse? Moreover, the ones who should be afraid now should be the other three. Link's smile widened. This third brother was a talent. He hadn't even said it, but he had already guessed it. How did he manage to shoot him in one shot in his previous life? Link walked around and looked at the people who were cleaning up the corpses. Suddenly, he saw something good and his eyes lit up. There it is. Link returned to his room and waited for a while before the first blood cocoon broke. The silver ant bit open the blood cocoon and crawled out. It immediately checked the information. Monster attributes. Name, Silver Formation Wall Ant. Grade, Blue. Race, Ant Family. Attribute, Metal Affinity. Level, 10. Initial Skill 1, Array Wall Block LV1, Silver Array Wall Ants can form an array wall to block bullets or attacks. Initial Skill 2, Sharpen LVL1, the Silver Array Wall Ant's body is sharpened. After being condensed, it can form a metal arrow. Control Range, 50 meters. Initial Skill 3, Condensed State, can be condensed into an arm guard when not in combat. Evaluation, the Silver Army Ant and the Arm Shield Suction Alloy have perfectly fused. All Silver Army Ants have evolved and grown alloy wings. Their body shape has been improved once again. A rare triform creature, after mixing in the Arm Shield alloy, the strength of the body is greatly increased. This was a terrifying creature. Link extended his hand, summoning the Silver Formation Wall Ant. Then, he went up to observe and found that the Silver Formation Wall Ant had changed greatly from the Army Ant. The Silver Army Ants from before were still the same as ordinary Desert Army Ants, but their bodies had become metal. However, the Formation Wall Ant's body structure had also undergone a substantial change. If the Army Ant's body was said to be round, then every part of the Formation Wall Ant's body had an anti-biological nature. Its head and abdomen were triangular, and even its wings were strange pentagons. At first glance, such a strange shape would only look like a simple art piece and not a living creature. In Link's opinion, this thing was more like some kind of mechanical creature. Formation Wall Block. At Link's command, 3,000 Formation Wall Ants joined together to form a 50 cm long silver screen. Upon closer inspection, Link realized that there was a depression in the abdomen of the Formation Wall Ant, which allowed the other tentacles to reach in, forming a tight clasp. Link stood up and punched the spell wall that was floating in the air. The array wall did not move at all, but his arm felt a force of rebound. Hiss! As hard as iron. And from the introduction, this thing can even block bullets.